So my third video. I don't think I'm gonna post just based on like the timeline that I, was on in regards to my story. I feel like I'm just gonna go with what I'm feeling the day of, because the emotions are here, and I kind of feel guided to like do this when I'm feeling emotional about something that is a part of this, and then to do the video at that time because it's healing for me. But how this all kind of ended, and I can give the story. It still hasn't ended. I'm still being gang stalked and targeted. I have people all around me. I have written to the feds, everybody. I kept watching tarot readings to see like who was involved in doing this to me, what was going on, why, and I couldn't figure out why would someone put me in this scenario, and I would watch these readings and it would say your sister did the most, and your sister did this, and your sister did that, and and your sister is horrible. And I was just like, I don't have a sister, so who could this sister be? And I thought, this must not be for me, right? And for the longest time it was like there was I started to get messages that like, stop telling the person that you talk to about what's going on. Stop, sharing. And I'm like, and I got down to the point where they isolated me and made me alone. They told all these horrible rumors to like friends, family members, clients, everyone. I lost everyone, including like people who were like my mother and father. They believed this, because my ex-husband was going around calling people, crying and saying, oh, I just, we want her to be happy, and you know what I mean? And then saying that like I basically am a prostitute, I'm a drug addict, and then they had gotten my daughter involved in this, and basically hearing this from a kid, of course they're gonna believe it, And the whole time I just kept going, why are these people leaving me? What's going on, And I was down to like my daughter and my mom and dad, and these are people who basically adopted me when I was 17. And a lot of times I just wouldn't call my mom because I felt like, oh God, I don't want them to take her away. But it was also like I wanted to protect her because I felt like these people would do something if I was telling her what was really going on. But I really was. I would call them and be like, and tell them some things. But so I started being like, well, who am I telling to? There's no way that, they're just like, the person you're talking to is going back and telling everybody what you're doing and what you're saying. And I kept going, who would that be? Like, my daughter wouldn't, she's only 12, she's only 13, she would never do this. And all of a sudden it just like hits me where, I heard one time where I overheard her talking to her dad, and he was asking her to look through some of my things. And it was like, that's when I was like, oh my God, no, they're talking about her. Please don't let it be this, So then I would start to say things to her where I'd be like, Lainey, if they asked you to do anything, please don't. This is illegal, if they're asking you to do stuff to steal from me, the inheritance or anything, please, she's like, I know, Mama, they haven't done anything. They haven't said anything, And then it was like, I started getting messages about incest, because I always ask my guides, share it through my home feed on my YouTube or like Quora or something like that, And I started getting these videos popping up about a child being molested. And, I was like, what the hell is going on, And then it was saying things like your sister slept with your divine masculine and your ex or whatever. And I'm like, who is a sister? I don't know. And then it was like piecing together for me, and I kept asking her, I kept going, Lainey, has anyone touched you? Has anyone, inappropriately touched you? And she's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, but are you sure, And I kept trying to get her therapy. And I got one therapist, and the second she started talking about my ex-husband, he like nipped therapy in the bud. And I'm like, how do you know what she was saying in those sessions? Like, did the therapist tell you? And the therapist was basically, either they had a recording device in there because they wanted to make sure she wasn't going to say anything. So, in about 2020, I caught her watching porn. And after that, excessively masturbating and watching porn. And it was almost hard for me to get off. And when I said, who sent this to you? She was like, I don't know. It came to me in my text. And so I'm like, well, someone's trying to groom her, and this is when the cameras were in. And I was saying stuff to my ex-husband, like, I'm like, listen, and there was even a federal agent that came up to me and was questioning this ex guy, John, who was a very abusive guy to me, saying, did you know he was involved in trafficking? And I was like, no. And he was like, you might want to check for cameras. Well, when I would hire someone to check for cameras, they had my phone hacked. And so they knew when someone was coming over, so they would pay that person to basically tell me there were no cameras. So I spent like $900 the first time, then $600 the second time for them both to be involved in telling me no. Because basically what I found out later was this, someone from the government was involved and put me in an illegal case study to say that I was under investigation so that they could basically keep me locked down so that they could steal money while I was down. And so anyway, with my daughter, I had this feeling like, and then I ended up getting a reading because it said someone's going to kidnap your daughter and molest her. And so it was so hard because like I couldn't get anyone, I couldn't get her to tell me the truth. She didn't want to go to therapy because she didn't want her dad to know. And all I could do was ask her. And she was like, no. And so I finally have someone come up to me and basically say to me, listen, your child is in danger. She's being trafficked by her own father and uncle and other people. And she's an underage prostitute. And you need to save her, and you need to save yourself because they're watching every move you make. And this is after I moved out of that house into my new apartment where I had this feeling we were still being watched. And I was like, you're lying. I would know this. There's no way. And so after asking her, finally there was a couple times where I just was like, tell me, my behavior was erratic because it was like, I feel like someone's screwing with me. I might be going crazy. Just tell me, And so finally it was just literally like, I asked her in a car one day, from her friend's house, and she said, Mom, you just need to drop it. These people will never let you stop this. They'll never let you stop me. She said, just move, Mom. Just move away because they're going to bother you forever. And then she said, when I make enough money, Mommy, I will come look for you. And she's like 13 years old. And I was like, no, we're going to the police station right now. And so I went to turn around to go get gas. And she jumped out of the car and ran to her dad's house because we were right there. And I, texted him to see if she was okay. And he said she just needs a break or whatever. And I immediately went to the police station. They were like, we can't do anything. Later, I found out this District 3 in Denver was being paid to not help me with anything. And then basically they wouldn't help me, so I called Denver Human Services. I didn't call CPS. I just said, I need to find therapy for my daughter. I want her to feel comfortable around somebody to let them know, And the woman's like, oh yeah, we have that, I can give you the resources, can I ask why? And I just shouldn't have said anything, and I just said, my daughter kind of said some things and I heard some things, I just want her to be able to talk about it to somebody, and I don't think she feels comfortable telling me. So the next thing I know, CPS doesn't call me. CPS immediately goes, Kim Smith with Denver CPS, goes straight to my ex's house where my daughter is staying, and then calls me and says, we need to look at your house and I need to meet with you. And I was like, but why? And she said, because she said, because there's many claims that you're abusing your daughter and that you're very unstable and that we just need to see if we can find you some help. And you can't see your daughter until we see you. And I was like, I don't feel like this is legal. I don't think this is the right way to do things, and I need to clarify with your boss. I go, if I'm the one that initially called, I go, did they call you? No. It was on your report, right? It was just very clear that she was involved in this because of the way she was, and because I'm the one that made the claim, and she went straight to them saying, well, we got a report that you're trafficking your own daughter. Like, why would CPS ever do that, right? And so basically I tried to get help from the supervisors. Her supervisors wouldn't, call me back. I made a complaint with like someone you complain to about CPS. She's like, oh, we'll give it to, it was just bad. And then I was calling like the trafficking, all the trafficking hotline numbers, anything trafficking, exploited children. I was like, and they were, and I feel like because this guy was working for the government, he was like hacking into my stuff and knowing who I was calling and probably going, this woman's crazy, just leave her alone, she's erratic, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll believe you because he's works for the FBI or whatever. I couldn't get her help. And I then get a request for court, or I went to court and I filed and I said, I just really want to get my daughter therapy and a pap smear because I feel like she's pregnant, because this is what triggered me to ask her about this too, because she was gaining weight and her boobs were getting big and she was eating a ton. And then with this, I was like, can we please get a pregnancy report, please? And they denied my request, but then suddenly got an urgent request from my ex because he heard that I was doing this. So to stop that, because they're tracking my car, everything, they knew everything I was doing before I did it, so that they could all of a sudden turn around, and he requested an urgent hearing stating that my daughter said that I was abusive, that I never let her talk in her house, that she's so afraid of me. I've never heard my daughter say this to me. I've never touched my daughter physically. And then to be honest with you, because of everything that was going on, being gang stalked and like with the witchcraft being on me, like I felt bad for my behavior, that I was like kissing her ass by the time we got into this apartment. And the next thing you know, like I get this email that like she has a doctor's appointment in Colorado Springs, which is like an hour away, the same date and time that the court was happening. So I don't know what she went there for. It said a therapist, but I don't know. So then I just had this feeling like these people are able to pay anyone and everyone, judges, lawyers, cops, everyone. And my ex-mother-in-law, I found out, was the ringleader of it all, along with my ex-husband. And basically, like, they paid a judge. So I had a Zoom meeting. The CPS woman was there. I was there, my ex-husband. And basically, it was like, they didn't want to hear my story. Any evidence I had, she did not want to hear it. I'm sorry, but we received word from CPS. She received notice from 3 different people. And I'm like, 3 different people? Who? One was basically like, the CPS woman said that like one was from a police officer. This police officer I called with District 3 and said, listen, I got this note that said my daughter might be in danger. She's at her dad's and he won't answer the phone and she won't, can you just go check on her? Because he's making it claims that I'm dangerous and I just don't want him calling the police on me. So could you just check on her? He ended up going over there and not even talking to my daughter and went straight and called, and my ex-husband said, call CPS. CPS needs to know how erratic she is. So he claims that he files a report. And then when I was going to different trafficking areas, basically I went into one and I met with this guy where I was like, what can I do? What are the resources I can do, you know? And he was very helpful, but it was weird because the second he left, it was like a police officer came in, said something to him. And when he came back in, his demeanor completely changed, and basically he referred me to a mental health facility. So this police officer was basically going into everywhere I was going, following behind me saying, she's very crazy, she's erratic, I'm sorry, please ignore her, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so yeah, so then the cop basically, you need to call CPS, they need to know this about her, she's dangerous. And of course they're gonna believe a police officer. So the police officer basically, so in court, I was annihilated. This woman was so mean and cruel and wouldn't let me speak. And when I would tell my story, and so by the end of it, I told her the conversation that I had with my daughter, where my daughter was telling me the stuff. And the magistrate herself, along with Rob and CPS, all of them sat there and went, you're clearly delusional, you need mental health help, you know, you need help and you just can't see your daughter until you get that help. And like, I'm hearing now that she was involved in this much deeper and that she was holding a lot of resentment for, you know, when I was going through the gang stalking thing, when I had witchcraft done to me, when I was like being attacked, you know, it was like I went into depressed mode and I didn't know who around me was, what was going on. It was when I was in the unknowing phase, right? And there are a lot of things that I regret about what happened between her and I, but I never abused her. I never ever abused her, ever, physically. Emotionally, probably just based on because I was going through something I didn't know what it was, you know. And the other thing that I learned was that my mother-in-law was basically grooming her. That my mother-in-law was basically involved in this cult, this trafficking ring. And that basically, since she was a little girl, my mother-in-law was just standing there, or the whole time, just feeding her with stuff about her mom. I learned that she was doing witchcraft on her to make her think that that she was the mother and that she needed to listen to her. This whole time, the whole family, 7 kids and this mother, basically were working on her since she was a little girl. So I had no chance. And I had no idea. They used her to steal my identity, to pretend to be me, to get a life insurance policy put in her name so they could get the money out. I'm hearing they possibly did witchcraft on her, had her possibly kill her own grandfather. I don't know. I'm gonna learn that later. But he suddenly died. I'm hearing and then because this man, you know, that was involved in trafficking was having sex with her when I broke up with him. He was going behind the scenes and went straight over to my ex-husband's house. It's like a crazy story. Went over to my ex-husband's house. I find out later from readings that my ex-husband and her uncle were molesting her. So this girl was going through so much trauma. And I didn't know, you know. I didn't know, and I should have been there for her. So the choice that I had was literally like, what do I do? I mean, she's completely turned against me. I think she hates me, and I didn't even know. Do I save her, make the effort to save her with the risk of having the police and judges and everybody involved and making me create a narrative that I'm crazy? Or do I just give up, and try to protect myself like she said? And it's just... So I haven't seen or talked to my daughter since July 4th. I heard she's pregnant and she's an underage prostitute, and they basically use her to like they have sex, have her have sex with judges or politicians. She pretends like she's old enough because she can pass it by. She's pretty developed. And basically they use her, this family, the grandmother of my ex-mother-in-law, used her to sleep with men and then videotape it and then blackmail them later. My daughter's so heavy under witchcraft, and I'm hearing that she has a drug addiction, and she's 14. And because, he's this trafficking ring, they involved this whole police station in my district, the courthouse, lawyers, CPS. It's if I go over there, they'll put me in a mental institution because they'll be like, you're crazy. And it's just hard. And the hardest part about this is that I'll talk about life paths and all that, but my guides are literally you need to move on because you're gonna learn some things that she did that are really bad against you, and this is probably someone that's not salvageable because they've done so much to her, in regards to manipulation and witchcraft, and then she was just ruined. And so I'm in a position where the divine is saying you need to move forward and let her go, but how do you let go? I have so much regret for what I was around her, being emotionally unavailable. I was exactly... I'm sorry, I'm crying so much. So basically, you know how a lot of us have divine masculines. My mother-in-law and my ex and everybody knew this, that this man, this government man, who ended up being involved in targeting me, they knew he was my divine masculine. And so they set my daughter up somehow to be with him, and then they were blackmailing him. And so he's off his path big time, and they manipulated him to do all this witchcraft, to do all these illegal things against me, and it basically destroyed his path. I mean, he's going to prison. He got an underage child, possibly pregnant. Odds are not good for him, so he didn't take heed to the warnings. I gave him so many warnings, even though he was my attacker, even though he was the one completely doing this to me. So the messages I keep getting are, she's gonna pass away from an illness. I think she was doing a lot of black magic and didn't know what she was doing. She has a drug habit. I'm really angry at the divine and spirit because I'm like, why would you do something like this to a child that never had a chance, And I'm praying every day. And I just wish that I could just help her
or talk to her. I have a TikTok channel and she watches it, and I put messages on there, but like, it's almost like when I do, I know they put witchcraft on her so she doesn't see. I just like miss her so much, you know, and I just wish I could have done so many things different. My heart is breaking, and I don't have anyone. I can't even go to a therapist because they'll see that and they'll probably put microphones in there and then use that against me to like hit my inner child wounds with witchcraft. And believe me, they've done a lot of witchcraft on me. So I don't know if she's dead or alive. I keep hearing that whoever portrayed themselves as my sister, which I think it was her, is going to die. And I feel like it's just judgment. I feel like she's done too much. I just pray. I don't know how I'm supposed to move on. Like, I lost everybody. They took my mom and my family and friends all away from me. I had nobody there, you know. I haven't had any friends for years. I haven't even laughed in so long. They have people everywhere. Everywhere I go, they follow me because they're like, who's she talking to? Does she have a different phone? I'm sorry. So yeah, my daughter is blocked from me, and she lives literally not even a quarter of a mile away from me. And my ex-husband, so smug, is an evil human being. This whole time taking money, like distributions out of my inheritance. He also got a stock plan of mine and stole that, and has been spending money, going on lavish trips, like the whole family and all these people. In the meantime, they took everything away from me, my business, my clients, and everyone. And I had to sell my house and sell my business. And I had to move into an apartment and use all the money that I got from the proceeds, and now it's gone. And the way that my ex-husband acts is he's told everybody she's crazy and we're really worried about her, but no one's ever contacted me and said, we want to help you. We want to do this for you. No one. And then he'll text me and be so smug and be like, you need to leave Lainey's stuff on the sidewalk because she's so afraid of you. And if I go near there to even try and see her, then he'll call the cops and make up a story. Like, every time I've tried to like call him and be like, listen, this is not cool, this is not fair, what you're doing is evil, he'll immediately call the police. And they'll come and do a welfare check, and he told them that I told him I'm gonna kill myself. He even told this magistrate that like my daughter has constantly said that I've complained about killing myself, which is not true. So I'm blocked, basically. And if my daughter basically has been trafficked, she's an underage prostitute, and the police officers at District 3 in Denver, Colorado, were involved. They were being paid. The magistrate, all these people, no matter where I went, like I'm hearing almost the entire city of anyone that matters is involved in this trafficking ring. It's like a religious cult or organization where they believe in Satan. And so basically, like, there's nowhere I can go. There's nowhere you can go in Denver to get help. This church organization, basically, they run on a business of doing this to women and basically break them down and then put life insurance policies on them, and then they traffic the children and put life insurance policies on them. And this is how this business has been running for a long time. I'm hearing the city council was responsible for putting me under this illegal surveillance where I was been on the dark web, and my life has been spewed all over there for years, and they were making millions off of my daughter, off of... It's so hard to move on when what happened to you and your child was so completely, astronomically unfair and so evil. Like, how does one move on? Because that's what we're supposed to do, right, on the spiritual journey. That was supposed to be a lesson to me about my mothering. Because look what can happen. You can lose your kid to trafficking. And I know that's not all it was. It's not all me. She was being molested, and basically I'm hearing that she like basically loves her dad like a husband, like a boyfriend. It's disgusting. So yeah. Sorry, this was a big ball session. It was a good release though. Since I can't do therapy, that's kind of why I started this. I have a TikTok one that I do videos on and stuff, but like basically you can only do short videos, you know. I just needed to vent. I needed therapy. I needed to be able to talk about this to somebody. They hear every word that I say in my place. I just don't have any freedom at all. And I don't know where I'm gonna go after this. Like, I don't know if they're gonna follow me to the new city. And again, they won't let me get a job. They want me broken. They want me on the streets. Like all of these people, this is what they want. While all of them are spending my inheritance. I heard they got like so many people involved in stealing money from my inheritance, paying friends to be my friends, paying people. A lot of people of this joined this group, and because it was based on what a kid said, a lot of these people are going to be shocked when they find out that they basically were involved in a group that trafficked their own kid and turned her out, and then she passes away. The world is truly evil. And this is a big stall for me on my spiritual journey because I'm very close to giving up. Here I have been looking and teaching other people, oh, look, you know, if you just learn the lesson, you get through the cycle, you know, then you can move to the next one. And then I keep getting this message from the divine that it's like, well, if you don't let go of the past, we can't put you in a new cycle. And basically, I'm going to be homeless in like 25 days if I don't let go of the past, which would be my daughter, or the anger and resentment I hold for what these people did to me in my life. I just have to learn from my mistakes. I can't, how I fucked this up, because even though the odds were against me, I feel like there were a lot of things I could have done, especially to help her. I don't know what to do. So anyway, thank you for letting me vent.